So we make sure that when we contact suppliers, we're only contacting suppliers that we know are already able and willing to dropship for us. That's a really important part. We're not trying to convince suppliers who've never heard of dropshipping or who don't know what it is or who've never done it before to suddenly take a risk on us as a business.
So let's start unpacking the steps that you've actually gone through in the book so people can learn from it and take action from this as well today. So what's the first thing that somebody would need to do when launching a dropshipping business in the UK?
Yeah, the product or the niche selection part of the process is going to be the heart of an e-commerce business, because ultimately what you sell will play a big part in, not the entire part, but a big role in determining your success. So we want to get this bit right. Now, people always say, do I need to be passionate about the products that I'm selling? Should I focus on something I'm interested in and have a personal passion about? So in this book, I talk about how we find products that not only align with your passion and interests, but also have a high market potential, right? So they're based on things like existing demand. We look at the data points around that. We don't base it on gut feelings and instincts and, hey, my friend said that they bought one of these things recently, so I'm sure I can build a business around it, or I would buy one of these, so there's definitely a market for it. You're not representative of the demographic necessarily. So let's look at the whole market. Let's take a snapshot of data-driven insights and figure out, is this business viable before we go and spend time, energy, money building it? So that's a big part of what we do inside this chapter. So we'll look at things like demand, right? We want to make sure that we base the products that we're going to sell on demand. We don't want to sell trending products. So remember things like fidget spinners that came out a few years ago, or those electric hoverboards that everyone started buying. We don't want to buy something that's a flash in the pan that then dries up tomorrow because there's no more demand because the fad has passed. We don't want to sell seasonal products, so things like Christmas trees, like where your entire business is based around like one day of the year. And we want to make sure that there are plenty of UK suppliers available within the market, that there's good price consistency. So there are all of these different factors that we want to take into consideration, and we guide you through in the workbook exactly how to do that in that chapter. But they're all factors that we cover in chapter 3, so that by the end of chapter 3, you not only have selected a niche that you're going to sell in, but you're confident about that because it's based on data. So you can be really excited that it's products that I'm passionate about, I want to sell them, and I'm confident that the business isn't going to crumble when I start.
I certainly fell into that trap of going after trending products. And it's something that really holds a lot of people back when they want to start a business, is which product do I sell? And what a lot of people do, including myself, is go to YouTube, search for top products to sell, drop shipping, and you'll get the list that everyone's watched. And there's perhaps 2 million views on those videos because everyone's seen that these are the trending products to buy. And of course, then everyone buys that. And none of those products have actually been put into that list based on data. So it's very important to have a clear system that you can find a product that you can be confident in, and therefore you'll know that it will sell, and you'll know that it will sell for the long term to create a long-term sustainable income stream for you.
Yeah, and so many early stage e-commerce entrepreneurs fail to look into that data. They kind of just neglect it, and they go based on a gut instinct or a passion, and they feel that, their friends and family would buy this, so therefore it's going to work. And then later when it fails, because there's not adequate demand there, or they didn't do that research, they can't find the suppliers or whatever, then it starts to fall apart. So if you follow the steps outlined in chapter 3 of the book, that won't be you, because if you choose the right product from the outset, it sets you up for success in later steps. And what I mean by that is, sometimes people say, okay, so what if I pick this niche, but then I can't sign suppliers later? And I say, but if you'd followed the steps in chapter 3 of the book, I guide you through the criteria to choose the right niche so that you can be 100% sure that when you reach the point of signing suppliers, which comes later in the book, you will know that those suppliers will already be happy to work with you because you did the research process in chapter 3. So it's where so many people get stuck who don't follow this method. So if you just follow the steps inside the workbook in chapter 3, that won't be you when you reach that stage, which is a really nice feeling of confidence to have going into this.
Absolutely. And if you follow the steps through in a particular method, then you start to realize why you did a step a few weeks ago or just before, because then it leads on nicely to the next one. So once you've chosen the products that you've been backed up by data, you're confident that they're going to sell, how do you then make sure you can find suppliers that will supply products and deliver directly to your customer?
Yeah, great question, because this bit's crucial, because your suppliers and who you source the products from are going to affect the quality of your products and ultimately your the business success overall and your customer satisfaction. So we make sure that when we contact suppliers, we're only contacting suppliers that we know are already able and willing to dropship for us. That's a really important part. We're not trying to convince suppliers who've never heard of dropshipping or who don't know what it is or who've never done it before to suddenly take a risk on us as a business. That maybe comes later, and we have done that over time once we're more established. But to start with, why not just work with suppliers who are already set up for this business model? It reduces the stress, the admin burden on you. Now, there's a specific way that we talk to new suppliers because they want to hear that we know what we're talking about. And I've learned from my own interactions with suppliers over the years that there are certain things they want to hear from us and other things that they absolutely don't want to hear. So you've only got to mess up on a couple of occasions with suppliers by saying the wrong thing from inexperience that leads them to not want to work with you. So in chapter 5, I guide you through how to approach these suppliers in a way that ensures that you say the right thing from the outset, so that you're setting that conversation up for long-term success. So I can give a couple of tips now if it's helpful. So on the phone with suppliers, we'll sometimes break down our marketing strategy so that they understand how their brand will be promoted. So we're giving them the guide on this is how we'll be running ads to your brand. This is the type of effect that it will have on your future sales and brand recognition. Remember, this kind of thing is music to a supplier's ears. And we also provide them with our launch date for our store and our marketing campaigns, because what this does is bakes in a bit of a deadline and some legitimate urgency into the discussion so that they're keen to be on board with us and partnered with us in time for our launch. Now, people say, but say you're selling a brand on your site, why are you promoting their brand and not your own brand, when you're building this store? Well, the best analogy that I can give for that is if you imagine a store like John Lewis. Right, John Lewis is a retailer. They sell barbecues in John Lewis. One of the brands of the barbecues that they sell is Weber barbecues, right? So the Weber is the barbecue brand, and they want John Lewis, the retailer, to promote their brand as much as possible, right? So it's like John Lewis running ads to Weber barbecues under the John Lewis account. So hopefully that analogy makes sense of in this example, we are the John Lewis, and we're selling multiple different brands underneath us, but that still means that we have a parent brand. So I think people sometimes get a bit confused about that bit. And so, we emphasize building really strong relationships with reliable quality suppliers that we're going to have relationships with for many years to come. And we're going to make them a lot of money and they'll make us a lot of money. So it's mutually beneficial. So we'll guide you through all of that inside chapter 5.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense for suppliers to partner with us. With that John Lewis analogy, if you put yourself in the mind of a brand or a supplier, they want to go where the customers already are. And our website will be where customers are because we know how to run ads. We know how to get traffic onto our site.